So, is it that time in your life yet? Do you feel like your family is complete and you and your spouse want to not worry about changing that? Well, the decision can be difficult, but the recovery doesn't have to be. After your vasectomy, you gotta get testes. Doctors usually recommend a jockstrap and ice for your boys to help with comfort. Well, testes is the best of both worlds. This is for the man who is out on the go and needs to get things done. You get the ice packs from the freezer, strap up, and saddle up. The packs give you at least 20 minutes of comfort, even if you're just sitting around watching the game. And most important, guys, no wet spots. Put on the jockstrap under your briefs and go about your day. They come in 3 sizes, medium, large, and extra large, to get your right fit. Now head on over to testes.com. That's TEST-EEZE.com. TEST-EEZE.com. Your wife is going to thank you for the snip, and your testes are going to be thanking me. Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Dayspring Discussions. I'm your host Sean McGahee, and this is a show where we talk about movies, TV, sci-fi, fantasy, comic books. If you geek out about it, we're going to talk about it. You can listen to Dayspring Discussions on iTunes, YouTube, Podomatic, Patreon, Amazon Music, wherever, guys. While you're there, go and rate, review, subscribe, then head on over to the Facebook group and Twitter account and join in the discussion. Well, hello. Hope everyone is enjoying their weekend. It is a sunny day here in Austin, Texas. It is a great weekend, too. A lot of good stuff happening in the world of entertainment. But we're here to talk about one thing only, and that is the newest Marvel show. Falcon and Winter Soldier had their season finale Friday, technically Thursday night, and we are here to talk about the series. Joining me today for the first time in a long time is Miss Lisa Locke McGahee.
Hello.
All right, guys. So, as you know, we do spoiler discussions. So if you are not caught up on all 6 episodes of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, pause, watch the episodes, come back. Otherwise, you're going to get spoiled. That's just how it is. This is your one and only warning. All right? Cool. This is the second series from Marvel Studios that is on Disney+. The first one was WandaVision, which we never actually got around to doing a review for, just because of timing, really. When the show, came, we weren't really, I think we were busy doing something else, so we never really got around to doing a review. So, Lisa, I want to start with you, of course. We got 2 shows now with, the Marvel Studios, known for, of course, their quality films. Now where they're taking their toes and dipping it into TV. What do you think so far of Marvel Studios and what they're providing as far as television series?
I think you don't have to watch very much of it to see it's pretty high quality. Like I have been very impressed with how they have taken, the quality of their films and the variation that you see in their films in terms of, themes and just like genres, like, and have been able to still have the same characters that we know, but having them in, a TV show, a more, chopped up version, but where each episode feels very cinematic. Like, yeah. I love it so far. I loved WandaVision. I really liked Falcon and Winter Soldier. I still think I liked WandaVision a little bit better. I was going to ask
you, which one do you like better?
Yeah, I still think in the end, I enjoyed, I felt like WandaVision, for me, there was more suspense that was bringing me back. Like each week, I was like, I have no idea what's going to happen next. Like there were so many twists and turns. We're like with Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm not saying it's like predictable, but I don't feel like each week when it ended, I was like, I don't know what's going to happen next week. Like usually at each episode ending, you were excited to come back and actually see how it happened, but you were fairly certain you knew how it was going to play out.
Yeah, with WandaVision, it was more like, what's going on? Yeah. Who's the villain,
Which is the kind of stuff I like mysteries. Like, that's why I'm excited for Loki, because I feel like it's going to be like that. Like, you're not going to know what's coming.
Yeah, Falcon and Winter Soldier was more straightforward. It was like, you knew, aside from who the power broker was, you knew kind of, what was going on, who the bad guys were, what the stakes were. Whereas, like I said, with WandaVision, WandaVision, it was more like, what's going on? Who's the villain? How's this happening? You know, what's going to happen? So again, I think in that respect, I think WandaVision was more popular because of the mystery surrounding it. Of the two shows, I mean, I liked Falcon Winter Soldier more just because, though, that's kind of that genre and that type of film or television is kind of more my forte.
Well, I mean, not to play into like gender roles here, but I feel like Falcon and Winter Soldier was more of a man's show, where WandaVision definitely had more that appealed to women. Okay. Particularly, not just because the main character was a woman, because I mean, like, looking at the other Marvel movies and stuff, like, I don't feel like I'm more excited for Black Widow film because it's a woman. It has to do with the way that the characters are. But I just felt like the WandaVision show, because of what the themes were, because of the way it was basically based around grief, and with her husband losing her love and her children, like, I felt like it appealed more to women. Where Falcon Winter Soldier was just, I mean, it was like a straight up there, action.
Yeah. Like, bros, going out, kicking ass.
Exactly. Which I'm not saying women wouldn't like. I liked it very much. I mean, I could watch Sebastian Stan all day, every day. He is not hard to look at. And I mean, neither is Anthony Mackie, but I mean, and their camaraderie was so cute and clever, but I just felt like the way that show played out was more, it seemed more to me. I'm not surprised that, like, the guys I know were more excited about this one, where girls I've talked to enjoyed WandaVision.
Well, yeah, even with WandaVision, I was surprised how much I even liked that, I think, too. I mean, when they said they were doing a Wanda and Vision show, I was like, okay, that's fine. It's Marvel. I'll watch it. Not my favorite characters, whatever. But, the story they gave us, the mystery surrounding it, and the character emotions, definitely pulled me into where I did enjoy it more than I thought I was.
I think you brought up a good point there, too, because I feel like Wanda and Vision weren't anybody's fan favorite.
Correct.
Like, they weren't the ones that drew people to the Marvel Universe, but I definitely feel like with them using those two characters to anchor a show, like, I feel like a lot of people now, like, I really like Vision as a character way better than I ever did before. Yeah. I just felt like that show really got into understanding him more and them more, and I really like those characters a lot more than I did before.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I enjoy Wanda a lot more too now, as far as her story, her journey, and hopefully what's to come with her. But, yeah. Okay, so let's go back. Falcon Winter Soldier. Overall, give me your general. I know you said you liked it, but kind of, general thoughts on the season.
General thoughts, like I said, I really liked it. I liked that they brought Zemo back in. I thought the way that they played, because I felt like his character in Civil War, like, I wasn't all that impressed with the way that they used him in that movie. I mean, I remember, I probably, if you could go back and listen to our reviews then, like, I kind of felt like it was kind of a weak.
I know, with a conversation with us, I'm constantly defending him. So, like, conversations just you and I have.
Yeah, so, like, I just felt like I didn't feel like they utilized the character well. I didn't think that they made it clear enough that he wasn't a good enough villain, I didn't think, in that movie. But I feel like this show really showed you who, like, it brought in a better version of him or a better side of him, to where you really kind of felt like you understand. Well, I'm kind of getting mixed up.
I think he played off of Bucky and Sam very well, I think.
Yeah, and it just really, it helped to show what was going on in his mind. Because I felt like in Civil War, you saw what he was doing, but I don't think they really did enough to help you understand exactly what his motivation was.
Yeah, like in Civil War, it's like you thought he was just taking down Avengers, when really with this one it was like he didn't want to he wants all superheroes gone.
Yeah, so, well, not necessarily superheroes, but super soldiers. Yeah. People that are, like, genetically, that are changed to be more than they are. Which I felt like this show really gave it the chance to show you. Oh, like, I feel like if I went back and watched Civil War now, I'd have a whole different view of what he was doing. Then I think this show really hammered out his motivation. People
were saying, too, like, go back and rewatch Age of Ultron after WandaVision. You get a whole new appreciation for it.
You really do. You really do. So I really liked how they brought his character in. I loved the camaraderie between Sam and Bucky. I thought that they just were hilarious.
So well, it's there, too, because, you have the... Obviously, from Civil War, they don't really like each other. And even at the beginning of the show, they still don't really care for each other too much. They have a respect for each other, but by the end of it, there's a real brotherhood after what they've gone through.
Yeah, so I really liked their interactions. I loved we talked about this before. One of the things I really liked the show did was, again, focusing on the world post-blip. Like, what if it ever went back now? Because, as we've talked about before, with Avengers, with Endgame and all that, like, I have said lots of times, I completely understand as a science person, as a scientist, as somebody who studied biology and the way the world life works. I understand what Thanos was trying to do. And so that was one of the reasons I really liked Infinity War, and Endgame so much, is because as a villain, you see what he's trying to do. Yeah. Like, and it makes perfect sense.
And honestly, it worked.
And
From
it did.
Everything we know, it worked.
Exactly. It totally worked. So I think now, like with the show, how they kind of showed that people are still struggling with that kind of stuff and bringing in the new, like, villains or bad guys or whatever, where it's still everyone just trying to figure out what's right. Like with this one, Carly, the bad guy, you same thing. You understand she's not really a bad guy. She is, because she's going about it the wrong way,
she's hurting people.
She's hurting people, which is kind of with Thanos. Like, you understand his motivation, but did he go about it the right way? Probably not. Same thing with her. Like, you understand her motivation. Like, she completely is coming from the right place. Like, she's not a bad guy in what she's trying to accomplish. It's how she's trying to accomplish it. So I think it's one of those things is you see Sam struggling with it. Yeah. Like, the labels they put on her, because she's really just trying to help people see that they're not doing what's right. Yeah. And so I really like how Marvel does that so much. They kind of take these real issues, and with Sam's speech at the end, like, a lot of throughout the show, just showing, the struggle of the Black community, and I just felt like the show did so many little things that really just touched on real human issues and real human problems and made it more real.
And I think, that to me, that's one thing, Marvel does better than, say, another studio, or superheroes.
Lots of other studios.
Or lots of other studios in general, is, you have these big fantastical characters with powers and action scenes and stuff like that, but unless you have the core characters that you can really relate to and something really to dig into, it's all for naught. WandaVision, again, it's about this one woman's story about how she deals with all this grief and trauma that has happened to her. And sure, it again, it goes to these fantastic elements of creating a whole world and brainwashing people using her ultimate power. But again, they have that part where it's like her almost in a bubble of her trying to cope with what's happened to her.
Yeah, I think that's really what has been the key to Marvel's success. Especially compared to, say, other superhero franchises, is they, like you said, they make sure that at the base of everything is a human component, human component, something that everyone can relate to on an individual level, because people can't really relate with superheroes. No. In the grand scheme of things in your day-to-day life, you don't have anything in common with Captain America, the superhero version of Captain America. Like Thor. Like, what do we have in common with Thor? Nothing. But
we both look very similar. So,
right. But ultimately, that's the thing, that the reason that these movies do so well, and the thing is, for any age level, kids to adults to elderly,
everybody gets something out of it.
Everybody can understand and can empathize with these characters on a human level, and I think that's what has been ultimately the key to
they make characters that we like, compared to some of them.
And that we understand.
Yeah, exactly. And even compared to, I saw Mortal Kombat last night, and I walked out of it, I'm like, I don't give a rat's ass about any of those characters. Like, I was so detached from the film because I didn't care about them, I didn't get to know them, I didn't like them, so why should I care what's happening to them?
Yeah, I know we talked about this before, but I hate, to bring in the DC, Marvel, blah, blah, blah. But, we've talked about this before. Like, I get nothing out of the DC films, but it's because I watch them and I don't get any human connection to any of those characters. There is nothing about those movies and the ultimate deeper things that make me care about what happens to them. Where, I felt like in these shows...
Yeah, this show in general,
this one specifically, like, like with Bucky and what he's trying to do in this, like, just watching him, his emotional turmoil as he struggles with wrapping his head around the things that he has done and how to make amends. Yeah. I know we've talked about it, all spoilers, but, when he actually finally, at the end, goes to that little old man and tells him, I murdered your son, like, that is an emotional... I mean, Bucky's character went on such an emotional journey in this show. But it was just this little tiny undertone. It wasn't like...
It wasn't the grand
big
story,
picture,
yes.
But it was, I think, very emotionally captivating. Like, I was the whole time like, oh my gosh, is he going to do it? Is he going to tell him? Like,
yeah.
You know?
Well, okay, so let's dig into the characters, of course. I was going to start with Falcon, but let's start with Bucky since we're on the subject. Of him, he's trying to make amends or avenge, like they said, for the things that Winter Soldier... Not even he didn't do them, he was brainwashed the whole time. He didn't do them, but he feels like he needs to make things right.
Because he still lives them.
Yeah.
Because even though he didn't choose to do them, he did do them, and those behaviors and those memories are there. So
and it's him making, trying to feel like he's worth it too. I mean, I love that scene in the second episode where they're in the room with the therapist and, he's talking to Sam, telling him, why'd you give the shield away? Because if Steve was, wrong about giving you that shield, then maybe he's wrong about believing in me, Maybe I'm not worthy, of redemption and just questioning himself and, his own worth in this world, it was great.
Yeah, I mean, and you see him just even in his interactions, not just with Sam, but with everybody throughout the show, you can see him evolving, becoming more sure of himself and realizing that he is deep down not the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, speaking of, human connections, in that very first episode where the therapist took his phone, he had one phone number. It was the therapist's phone, right? Okay. And then as the series progresses, he develops more and more relationship with, with Sam, with Sharon. But then by the end, that final scene in the end episode, he shows up to the party. The kids, he's messing around with the kids. He's talking to everybody, He has, more than one person on his contacts list now, probably.
Yeah.
So, yeah, his evolution throughout it, I thought was really good for that. But of course, Sam, I think, the main focus, a lot of this was, I think, on Sam's journey too. With him looking at the first episode, he gave away the shield or, tried to put the shield to rest. I think mainly because he thought he wasn't worthy. He could never live up to what Steve was. And also, from that perspective, but also going back home, his sister wanting to sell the boat. He doesn't want to sell the boat. It's his history. It's his family's history. He doesn't want to let go. I think they're very similar. And, him living in the past, putting it up on a pedestal and just, thinking he can't reach that level, really. Well, how are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like with Sam, the biggest thing in this was just feeling lost. He just felt lost.
What do I do now without Steve?
Yeah, like he because before he met Steve, he had been helping people. Like that was his he had a role, and he always had been a helper, but he always had been like helping other people. Like he hadn't taken the lead. He wasn't the lead. He was the helper. Like I feel like he had that mindset. And I mean, and Steve has big shoes to fill.
Oh yeah. The biggest,
right? I mean, just everything about him, he's like the epitome of a good guy. Like he's just one of those people that
does what's right.
He doesn't, his moral compass is always pointing to how he can help the most people. And I mean, that's a lot to have on your shoulders.
Yeah. And I think I've seen several memes, as the show has gone on, the whole thing is also not just Sam, but also like proving to us, the audience, that Sam is worthy to be the next Captain America. And like, there are memes going around of like stuff that comparison to what Sam does throughout this season that Steve would do. Like, the one that comes to mind is something about how, back in Civil War when they were, Tony wanted to lock up Wanda and he's like, she's just a kid. And then jumping to this where Sam wants to talk to Carly and he's like, she's just a kid.
Yeah.
Just kind of the same, he has the right mindset to do the job. Versus, someone else called John Walker,
right,
who might not be as stable as, the government hopes he would be.
Well, I mean, I think that is the ultimate thing that the show was trying to show us, too, is Steve knew what he was doing when he chose to work with Sam. He could see that in him. And Sam really learned from the best. So, I mean, I think it is showing how Sam in the end, the way he behaved and the things that he said, I think it really showed how he learned from and emulates what Steve was. But I think also the show did a really great job, and obviously not being black, I don't understand I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I know what what any of it. But I think that he did a really great job. The show did a great job in Sam and the things that he said with talking with his sister, and the things that he said talking with Isaiah, and the things that he said talking with just other people when they were trying to get the boat ready or at the bank or in this community. Like, I just think the show did a lot to kind of try to help people understand how that extra layer for Sam makes it even more difficult than it was for Steve. Because, like Sam said, he's not that blonde hair, blue eyes, you know, what people think necessarily, and I'm doing air quotes here, you know, when they think of America. But
and the struggles that, you know, his, you know, family went through isn't the same struggles that Steve or his family went through, of course, too. You know, just touching on that a little with Isaiah Bradley, you know, about how back in that day, especially you're talking, you know, early 50s or whatever, and, you know, Isaiah's like, they would never, you know, let a black man be Captain America. And I'm like, yeah, back in that time, they probably wouldn't, honestly.
But I think that's what Sam was trying to show, is that he's saying the same thing. If you wait for people to be ready for it, it's never going to happen. And that's why where Sam says, it doesn't matter if you're ready for it or not, here I am.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know, I'm not the black Captain America. I'm not the black Falcon. I am Captain America.
I like that. Yeah, and I thought of that too. Yeah, they people kept calling him Black Falcon, and he's like, "No, I'm just Falcon."
Yeah, like and it's not because he's trying to pretend like he's not black. And I don't think that that's at all what he was trying to say.
Yeah.
He was just trying to say that shouldn't be what defines him.
Yeah.
But he's gonna use that if it's there to be the best he can be.
Yeah, exactly. Making it, you know, like you said, making the struggles of everyone else that came before him worth it. You know, pressing forward, making progress, so to speak, with that kind of lesson that he finally learned. You know, can't go back, got to go forward, and you know, someone's got to press forward, someone's got to lead by example, and there you go.
Yeah, he's a great person to do it.
All right, so let's talk about Mr. John Walker, Captain America, now U.S. agent. I thought he did a great job.
Oh yeah.
And the reason I think he did a great job is because in those first couple episodes, you know, or even the whole season, people hated him. And that's how you know
they did everything to make you hate him. Like they did it on purpose. No, you were supposed to, I think.
Okay, we went back and rewatched the episodes, and really it was episode 4 was really the turning point when it came to Walker and Carly. For both of them was, you know, when they first both actually killed. You know, when they crossed that line. And with Walker, you know, I go back and look at it, and he's a little arrogant, so to speak. But, you know, he goes through it, and it really, you know, isn't until Battlestar, his partner, his best friend dies, that he finally loses it. But again, like we've said, you know, as we watch the show, it all dives deep into his insecurities, his own experience. And, you know, even before the show started, I was thinking, well, of course, you know, the government wants another Captain America. They want someone who can be that symbol that they can use as propaganda, much like how they tried to use Steve as propaganda, you know, back in Captain America, the First Avenger. They want something that they can, you know, give to the public and be like, here, rally around him. You know, this will give you hope. And they looked for the perfect soldier is what it was, and that's what John was. But the whole time, again, I wasn't like booing him. The only thing I hated is the fact that he wasn't Steve, and that's what most people hated.
No, I honestly thought that was that they wanted you to dislike him in the way that they portrayed him, because it wasn't just about the fact, like, I didn't dislike him because he wasn't Steve. It was the way that he carried himself, the things that he
arrogant,
said.
Like I said,
but it wasn't just an arrogance. It was like, you would feel like somebody who was trying to take that mantle, I mean, maybe it is arrogance, would just be a little bit more like... Humble, yeah. Maybe it was just that. Maybe it was just arrogance. I don't know. But there was just so many things he would do and he would say, like, even just the way he would talk, like, he didn't ask... You know, he wasn't talking to Bucky and Sam like, hey, you guys, I appreciate what you did. You guys were so awesome. I'd love to work. You know, it was more just like, you guys should want to work with me. Yeah. Like, and I just felt like everything he did and said, he came off as such a douche.
Well, it's definitely not even close to what Steve Rogers. I mean, one thing I noticed, you know, like I was thinking back on it too. I was like, in the entire, you know, history of Chris Evans playing Captain America, I think he only said "I'm Captain America" once, and that's like in the first movie when he rescued the POWs, and he's like, "I'm Captain America." And other than that, he never referred to himself ever when Captain America, where John Walker kept saying, "I'm Captain America, I'm Captain America."
Yeah.
Not, you know, saying it to people to be like, to
himself also.
He never got the respect, you know.
Yeah.
He wanted the respect of the people that Steve got, but he never got that.
But he didn't want to earn it.
Yeah.
He just wanted to get it.
Yeah.
He didn't want to put the work, because just having a good military career doesn't make you Captain America. There's a lot of other good soldiers out there. Like, he felt like because he was a good soldier and they picked him, that people should just automatically be all like, woohoo, you're the best.
Yeah.
Like, thank goodness you're here.
Right.
But he didn't want to put in the work to show that he could do it. You know, and then like coming in with like when they would like him and Battlestar, when they found them on that day when they were fighting with the super at the beginning on the trucks.
Yeah.
Whatever it was.
Came to help.
Yeah, when they came in to help, and he's all like, "We saved you guys." It's like, dude, this is a super soldier and a Falcon with his like super cool wings, and you think you guys who came in and saved the day? Like, come on, man.
Yeah, I know. But I love it was those quiet moments they gave him though that really made me empathize with him, especially the one where him and Battlestar are talking about would you take the super soldier serum, and talking about why he was chosen as Captain America. And I really love the line where they said like you got 3 stars or 3 medals or whatever, and he's like, yeah, three things to remind me of the 3 worst days of my life.
Right.
And that thought came to my mind. I was like, yeah, these guys get these medals for doing heroic things and absolutely horrific, stuff
that they don't want to remember.
Exactly, they don't want to remember it, but they have now these constant reminders too. And again, things that made me empathize more with him. And I'm really glad they gave him that redemption in the end.
I am glad of that. I still don't like him, but I'm glad that he got that he did get to kind of show in the end that he could be the bigger person.
Exactly. I think, the redemption, he still has much more to learn, but hey, this is his first outing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and obviously they have plans for him. So, as a character, he's only going to grow, and that's what we want. We want to see these characters grow. He's not perfect, just like the rest of us aren't perfect. I mean, if your best friend died, I mean, what would you do?
I certainly would go out and I wouldn't go out and brutally murder the other person in front of 1 million people with cameras when I was carrying the Stars and the Stripes.
I don't think he really cared about the cameras, but I would like to say no, I wouldn't do it, but you never know until you're in that situation.
Yeah, I can tell you I would not go out and brutally murder somebody with a giant shield.
And I love it to Wyatt Russell, who played him, obviously Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn's son. And there was in episode 5 there when he was pleading his case, to the Senate hearing or whatever, totally looked like young Kurt. Totally, like, I was like, that is so young Kurt.
He sounds like him every once in a while, too. Like,
his mannerisms,
Yeah, no, I mean, like, the way he sounds.
Yeah.
Like, not, he looks like, the way his voice. There were times where, like, I wasn't watching, but I could hear, and it made me, you can tell that he is Kurt Russell's kid for sure.
Yeah, so he did a great job. Like I said, I think I love what they did with the character and where hopefully he will go from here. So I'll give him props to that. Carly,
I loved her character.
played by Emphas Nest herself.
Yeah, I know, right?
Exactly. Again, would you call her a villain?
No.
No?
I mean, yes, but again, no, she's misunderstood. But that's the thing is the best villains, I think, are those kind. Yeah,
where you can empathize and kind of see their point of view.
Where you understand where they're coming from. That's what I think. I think Marvel has a lot of villains like that, where you feel you get a sense of their humanness.
Yeah.
That's what makes him so good. Because obviously she's a bad guy. Yes. She did bad things.
Yeah, and again, episode 4, like I said, it's like up until that point, she was, just kind of trying to, she was stealing supplies to help people, help refugees, is what she was doing. That's why she was being chased. And so it was episode 4 when she blew up that building full of, people, that's really when she crossed that line. And then, even at the end of the episode, when she's talking about killing the hostages, and her, fellow super soldiers are like, well, wait a minute, wait a second here. What? Exactly, where she's gone too deep,
Yeah. I mean, I think that is a common struggle with, I guess, people that are considered villains. I mean, I think there's a lot of people, like, even just say in the real world, like, even talking about maybe just regular, like, terrorists or whatever, who maybe initially start out by trying to do what's best in a non-violent way. And then, but for some people, you can only get knocked down so many times or get ignored so many times or try for so long before you flip. And that's, I mean, I feel like you could see that happening where she's trying to do good. She's trying to make a change, to do things to help people, to get the government, to get the, GRC or whatever, to see what you're doing isn't right. There are people here who don't agree with you. Listen to us, and they're not. And that, unfortunately, with a lot of people who get labeled as terrorists, that's what happens, is they try to do it first the right way. And then when they don't get anywhere, they don't know what else to do to get attention. Yeah. And that's a horrible side effect, and that's when they get labeled as terrorists. But I think that's why I liked at the end when Sam said, we got to quit calling her a terrorist. Like...
Oh, yeah, that speech at the end was so great, just, talking about, like I said, labeling people, but also, talking to the senators, where it's like everyone would want to, every, ordinary citizen is going to be like, these people make decisions that affect people that aren't them, that aren't in their tax bracket, I guess you would say. It's like, how many people are in the room that aren't you are making these decisions? Is what it is. It all comes down to, who you're going to vote for and all this other stuff. But that speech at the end was, great, just fabulous on that. So, all right.
But I thought she did great.
Oh, yeah.
I really like her. I can't wait to see her in more things.
I felt she was a little... There were times, again, she started to go more extreme, and I'm like, oh, no,
But I think it's because her character drew you in. That's why you get that emotional attachment.
I still felt like she, the whole time, like, every time, she was talking about what she wanted to do, it all, even when, she felt like just so naive, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And even throughout the whole series about what she was doing and not really thinking about the consequences or why or what would happen and stuff like that. No,
I think the why she had, it was the repercussions. No, but I think that you're right. I think you were supposed to. That's how, because they keep talking about her as a kid. You're supposed to see that she's naive. Yeah. I think that was part of her character. She's supposed to be that way.
Yeah. Okay, so before we go on, super soldiers, all right? And as I was rewatching, I was counting, okay? So in episode 2, Falcon and Bucky tracked him down, and there were 8 of them. Now, there were more vials, like the scientist said he made up to 20. But those all got destroyed except for the one, which is the one that John Walker took. So Walker took out one, and then you had... Oh, the other one died a couple episodes before that when he let the other super soldiers escape in the plane. Then you had Sharon kill one in the truck. And then, of course, the other 4 blew up by Zemo's butler.
What one in the truck?
The one, Zemo's guy blew him up in the truck.
No. Which one did Sharon blow up in?
No, not blow up. The acid thing.
No, that wasn't a super soldier.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, there was 8 of them. So there's 8 altogether.
Yeah, I know. I know there were 8 of them. I'm saying I don't think that guy was one of them.
Yeah, he was. He was the big guy. They showed him throughout the whole series. He was one of them.
Oh, I didn't think he was. I thought he was just one of the people that was helping them.
Basically, what I'm trying to say is that there's one left.
I know what you're trying to say. I was just trying to say I don't think that guy was one of them, but maybe I just missed it. I don't remember him being one of them.
Yeah. So there's one left, the one that fell out of the plane, and then, of course, they said later, hey, Sam, can you help us go get him? They're like, yeah, he wasn't in the truck with the rest of them when it blew up, so there's technically still one super soldier around there, minus, Walker and Bucky, of course, to go along with that, too. But yeah, I was counting them throughout the series. I'm like, okay, because I thought, once Walker went crazy, he was going to go and just start killing them all, because I really didn't want any of them really to be left by the end of the series. Just it's like, that way it's more special for, Bucky or Walker to be the super soldiers, so to speak. So, but yes, there's still one left. I counted them.
So. Well, I know there's one left, whether you count them or not, because
maybe
there's at least one.
And probably Zemo's going to take him out eventually, too.
Yeah, because they do. They asked Sam to go get him at the end.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so Zemo, I know you touched on it before. You really enjoyed. Daniel Bruhl the way he handles it. Oh, yeah. And I love, of course, the Zemo character as far as, how he feels about it. And the speech, I know... it might have been episode 4 or 5 when they're talking about supremacy and power and corruption, and anyone who seeks to become super is a supremacist, I think is kind of what they said. It was an interesting conversation about anyone who really seeks power is not the type of person who should have power.
Which is generally how it is.
Yeah, exactly. And again,
the best leaders are the ones who come into it naturally, not who seek it out.
Exactly. I mean, I think we can show examples in real life, but we're not going to go there. But, and they talked about Steve. Steve, he didn't really seek power. He's like, I just don't like bullies, And that's, he was the exception to the rule is what it came down to. But I hope we see a lot more.
No, he wasn't the exception to the rule. He proved the rule.
The
people who don't seek it out are the ones who are best suited to it. That's what I'm saying. He proved the rule. Mm-hmm. He wasn't the exception.
He was the exception to...
He proved it. He was exception to lots of other things, but not to that. He proved that rule.
I'm confused now. Whatever. You know what we're trying to say, okay? Maybe she said it better. I probably didn't. That's usually how it goes in our relationship. But either way, you know what I'm trying to say. So... Zemo, Daniel Bruhl, really great. Again, I think a lot of people who were disappointed with his character in Civil War, I think felt much better about him. I mean,
like me,
he got a whole dance meme around him.
That was hilarious.
And the whole Zemo movement. I mean, for a whole week, that's what people were talking about was Zemo dancing. Mm-hmm. Just that little 2-second snip is what people could not get enough of. So great with that. Let's see here. Going on. Okay, here's the one I really want to talk about. Okay, Emily Van Camp as Sharon Carter. I'll let you go first because I'm going to go off. Go.
No, I mean I don't really know what to say. I mean I felt like the only thing that we talked about was trying to figure out because I had asked you after the episode, one of them, whether she had been gone during the blip. And then you had said that you thought that they had thought that she had.
Had she heard? And then I looked it up after you were asking the question. And it said allegedly they thought she was blipped because no one could find her.
So then I was saying that because I was asking you then, how long does this show take place after everyone came back? And if it's only been about 6 months, there's no way she becomes the power broker, that level of power in 6 months. Mm-hmm. So I think she's been there throughout the blip in whatever it was called, Madripoor, building that empire, getting angrier and angrier and angrier at everybody and everything because her life was ruined. Then just basically she had 5 years to stew about it, and then everyone comes back and the world gets even worse, and so now she's in this huge, powerful position. So I thought there's no way she was gone. She was there. She was there in Madripoor
I think so.
During the blip. Basically turning into a supervillain in her head. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not the type of fanboy that is like, oh, this is how it is in the comics, so this is how it's got to happen in the movies and the TV show. This is how it's going to go. I'm not that type of fanboy. Okay? I know there are changes. Obviously, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, it's, there's a storyline base called The Winter Soldier. It's, the movie, they took a lot of liberties, loosely based. X-Men Days of Future Past, another Marvel famous storyline. They stayed very thin to what the actual storyline of that story was, Civil War, etc. And I'm okay with it because it served the film. It's the storyteller, or the movies, or the director's job to tell a good or have a good movie first, not to stay faithful to the material, I guess is what you would say. So, if it changes and, it works, I'm fine with that, Going back to, my biggest problem with, say, X3 The Last Stand was that it was so far away from what X-Men was, not just, storyline, but the characters didn't act like the characters. It was just, it didn't, to me, I don't call it an X-Men movie at all because it's not X-Men. Whereas, in the MCU, all the characters still act like the characters and the story changes, that's fine, whatever. Sharon Carter, in the comic books, is the love of Steve Rogers' life. Now I know in the MCU it's Peggy. I get it. I know how they came back around to it. I love the way they almost bookended it all. Starting, when you watch them in chronological order, you get Captain America: The First Avenger with him and Peggy, and then of course the very last shot you see, in the Infinity Saga is him coming back to Peggy. Loved it. Absolutely loved it, okay? But in the comics, like I said, Sharon Carter, she's always been a good guy. She's the love of Steve's life. They've been together for decades. And just that flip, where we saw her in Winter Soldier and Civil War, to now she's just this ultimate plotting, arms-dealing supervillain. And I'm just like, I don't get it. It disturbs me.
So here's my question, though. So we don't really... Okay, let's go back to her and Steve being whatever. So in the movies, that was never even a thing.
And I always thought they were, too, because, like, you know, they brought her in Winter Soldier, and I'm like, oh, that's Sharon Carter, that's his true love.
Right.
You know, they're going to build her up, and they brought her in Civil War. Because, like, I thought, like, after Civil War, like, well, maybe, you know, from the time he was on the run, they might meet up every once in a while, get a little nookie, you know.
Yeah, well, maybe that was their initial plan, or maybe. But as soon as they decided that with the time travel, whatever,
how they were going to end it.
As soon as they decided that's how they were going to end it, they still had now Emily Van Camp there as Sharon, who people liked her. She was good at. She's not bad to look at. Like, she's a character that they don't necessarily just want to write her off now because she can't. Her and Steve can't happen. It can't happen.
That's true.
Steve. They chose their path for Steve.
Yes.
It ended with Peggy, but the other side note of that is if she was around during the years of the blip, we know that when Steve went back, he started his life with Peggy, but he was there as an old man to give his shield to Sam. So we don't know if she and Steve had any contact.
Yeah.
Like, who knows how Steve's life changed? I mean, I know we talk about parallel universes, alternate timelines, all that nonsense about time travel that didn't make any sense in Infinity War. But we don't know how Steve going back and staying with Peggy, how that changed things.
Yeah.
Maybe that there was something that happened where, I mean, Steve would have been an old man, but maybe there was something that happened in the time between when he went back and lived with, I mean, if she's related to Peggy and he spent his life with Peggy,
he knew her
grew up with growing
her.
up.
Yeah.
So for her, you know what I mean? There's got to be some kind of.
There's so many jokes about that too.
I mean, that's what I'm just saying. Like, if you think about the fact that Steve going back in time and staying with Peggy had to have impacted something somehow.
Yeah.
Because we know it had to have, because Steve interacted with Sam in this line. Like, you know, they talk about the time lady, whatever, the one from from Magicians. What the hell? I'm Doctor Strange.
Yeah, you're talking about the ancient one.
The ancient one. You know, when she was trying to explain how when you make a different decision, a parallel timeline pops off. But that isn't what happened with Steve, because he spoke to Sam in this timeline.
Well, I mean, he's been living secretly in this whole time.
But that's what I'm saying. So if he was in, see, that's not how, even their own descriptions of it don't fit with Steve
originally,
talking.
so what my understanding is, you know, that was my biggest thing with Endgame, is the whole way time travel works confused the hell out of me, and it didn't seem right. So from my understanding is, of course, you know, Steve going back, of course, created another, you know, timeline, so to speak, and
so it shouldn't have interacted with this one.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. But it did, because Steve talked to Sam in this timeline, so as an old man.
So it's my understanding, for me, of course, and I'm probably totally wrong about this, is that, again, Steve just chilled out for like 70 years
with
and
Peggy.
Like he just let time do whatever time was going to do, and at some point they unthawed Steve, and at one point there was old man Steve. It's two, right. Yeah, exactly. There,
exactly. That's what I'm saying. So the fact that before this show, from Sharon's perspective, it was all where Steve was still Steve, and then now we meet Sharon these years later, after Steve has stayed back with Peggy, who is her aunt. So who is to say, how do we don't know what has happened. I feel like Sharon is the biggest question mark.
We're assuming, but again, we're assuming that old man Steve just sit back and chilled, allowing, things to progress as he remembers them to progress, not interfering with the timeline, which means, like I said, there was the thawed out Cap that did everything that we know happened, including hooking up with Sharon at some point.
Well, we don't know if they hooked up.
In Civil War, they hooked up. There was feelings there. But I'm saying that moment in Civil War, yes, they kissed, whatever, and at that same time, somewhere in the world, old man Steve was still around.
Right. I'm just saying, old man Steve was with her aunt. Yeah. So it seems very...
At that point, she had died, but yes.
Whatever. It just seems...
To me, it's such a flip from what the character we knew in the first two appearances, know?
Yeah. I'm just saying that I see that this is the one character I think that you can really do that with. Because the way the story has played out lends to you can really do something dramatic with her.
And I'm trying to understand how it was a flip, because, Team Cap, whatever you want to call them, okay? They all went against the government. They all got imprisoned. Sharon herself, turned against them. She stole the Falcon suit and the shield and all that for Steve and all of them. So she had to go on the run because, apparently the government knew she stole it. So they were, she was a wanted fugitive, all that stuff. She was on the run. I get it. Where it differs, of course, I guess, is, every one of those, other team members on Cap's team got a pardon. Hawkeye.
But she'd been in hiding.
Exactly, and she didn't. They pardoned everybody else except her. Honestly, I think when it came to this moment too, Sam, Bucky, the ones who she actually helped, probably forgot about her. Honestly, because she had been because they had been blipped, obviously, and when they came back, they were dealing with other stuff. But they forgot about her. So yes, that could be some resentment in that as well. Totally understandable. Now, had she been there to help defeat Thanos at the end of Endgame, maybe they would give her a pardon as well. But she wasn't. So, and that's just how it is. It's just such a flip from what she last time we saw her. Is what it was, and that just kind of threw me a little bit.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying though. If she was still there during the blip, and she was in Madripoor, and none of the ones who didn't get blipped were looking for her or cared about none of them were.
Yeah. Did Steve look for her?
That's what I mean. Imagine how angry, how much you would just be stewing in that you gave up everything for them,
and that's
and then now you're just.
All I want is something for that 5 years. There's so much post blip. There's so much ripe storytelling and all that. When they were talking about doing a Black Widow movie, and I was like, oh God, if they would take that Black Widow movie and tell us how through her eyes. What was happening in the world, or how Bruce became, the Hulk that he became, and just tell us about all of that, what happened during it, because now we're getting, when everyone comes back in the state of the world. But I really want to know about, the 5 years and the care and what everyone had to go through and still go through.
Well, in terms of Sharon, now that they let you know at the very end that she is the power broker, but Sam and Bucky don't know that.
Yeah.
That's going to come into play.
Oh, yeah. We
will be getting more explanation.
We will be getting that, of course, in either, the next Captain America film that they announced, or they still don't know. People aren't sure. Is this going to spin off to the next Captain America movie? Is there going to be another season of... Because at the very end, they said Captain America and the Winter Soldier. So is season 2 going to be rebranded Captain America Winter Soldier? Or are they just going to do a 4th Captain America film? Or maybe, they just get Bucky to, he'd take over the show. Sam could go do Captain America films, and Bucky could be the one maybe to deal with Sharon a little bit too.
Yeah, maybe.
Either way.
There's a lot of things I can do with it.
There's a lot of, and that's what I loved about the end of this season, or the end of this final episode, is they set up so much with every character. I want to see what happens to each and every character. At the end of this, they set it up so well with them. So there was Sharon Carter. The thing that most got me a little turned around, I guess you would say. The last one I really want to talk about, of course, is the appearance of Julie Louis-Dreyfus as Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. Now, in the comics, this is a character. Her code name is Madam Hydra, but she's not really a villain. Yes, she's worked for Hydra. She's also worked for S.H.I.E.L.D. She's also worked for herself. She's I want to say out for herself, but, she's kind of, I wouldn't consider her a villain at all. So that's why, she comes into that episode 5, and you could say, she's trying to sway Walker, don't really have a good vibe to her. But if you know her history, and if you think they're going to stick a little bit to that in the series, that, maybe she is generally kind of looking out for what's best as far as, not Walker, but really the world. And I think she'll play whatever's up next for John Walker. I think she's going to be an integral part to it. And I think, she came in and she had that presence to her, which I thought was really well. But what did you think about her appearance?
I don't know. I didn't really think much of it. She just kind of came in. I didn't have any idea who she was or what she was doing. She just seemed like somebody that was ultimately out for whatever's best for her.
Yeah, I think it was...
And so she'll help whoever she needs to do what's best for her. That's what I got from her. I'm kind of indifferent.
Again, I think they're teeing it up for what's to come down the road.
Yeah.
Is what it is. There's a rumor, allegedly, she's in Black Widow as well, which I don't think I believe that, because Black Widow was supposed to come out before this, so I don't think that might be it, but I don't know. Either way, I thought it was interesting. It's just one of those things now where, the Marvel universe, the MCU is getting so big. It's like so many people are coming in to play roles. It's like there's so many people. It's like, okay, who hasn't been in a Marvel movie? It's getting to that point is what it is. So, but I don't think there's anybody else really I want to talk about as far as the characters. Okay, so Falcon Winter Soldier, really enjoyed it, really liked it. One thing, last thing I want to talk about, the Wakandans coming in. That was a kind of a surprise to me, although it shouldn't be a surprise given their history with Bucky and Zemo with that. And, when Bucky gives Sam the suit the Wakandans made, of course, it's a suit that's probably made purely of vibranium, and I was really impressed with, the things that the suit could do or the wings could do, because his wings, his suit, I think all of it is vibranium. It's bulletproof, it's strong. I loved in that last episode, I pointed out this morning when the helicopter's coming down on him, and he just puts the wings over him, and the helicopter bounces off of his wings with that. I liked how, he had his shield on his back, and at one point, he was flying and it popped out, like, spring out so he could grab it and use it. And
now he has lots of little red wings.
Well, and of course there's I've seen some criticism as well, where it's talking about, they just made him, another Iron Man. Because people criticized Spider-Man when he first came on to give him a highly advanced suit because, they think Spider-Man's not cool enough. And now they're like, they just turned Falcon into Iron Man as well now with all his little gadgets and gizmos and all that. I'm like, I don't know. I don't think that's true, but I can see why, some people may feel that way.
I think it's better for him to have it than Spider-Man because,
Yeah, because
like Iron Man, Sam doesn't have any powers.
Exactly, yeah.
Where unlike Superman or Spider-Man has Spidey powers. Like the suit for him is kind of
it's exactly
unnecessary.
Exactly.
For Sam, it's good because he doesn't have any superpowers.
Yeah, Sam never would have been able to hold up that truck unless he had all those little rockets and his suit with him. It helps him, of course. And if you want to say it's kind of Iron Man-esque, okay, you can say that. It's just a highly advanced suit, is what it is what it comes down to.
They're just jealous they don't have one.
Exactly. I'm jealous. I want some cool wings. I didn't like it's very comic accurate. I'll give you that. But one thing I don't seeing it in person, in live, I didn't like how all the white. Like I felt the white threw it off a little bit.
I thought it looked just like the pictures from the comic.
Yeah, exactly, it did, and that's what I'm saying. But then you it's the same thing when you take something that looks cool in a comic book or looks good in a comic book, and put it in real life. It's not gonna come across as well sometimes. And to me, again, I felt like there was too much white in the costume. But that's my own personal opinion is what it is. I mean, even with when you take these superhero costumes and throw them into a real life situation and actually make them, you don't.
You have to make some tweaks.
You have to make a tweak, exactly.
I mean, X-Men is a good example.
Exactly, X-Men. Exactly, X-Men. When the first X-Men movie came out, they had such colorful costumes in it. I mean, Wolverine's costume was bright yellow in the comics, and there's no way they were going to put him in bright yellow because it would look ridiculous.
Yeah,
is what it was. And even in some say I love the Henry Cavill Superman suit because it's more toned down. It's more of a darker blue.
Yeah, I like it too. It's definitely more like you said, the tone is more neutral.
And I felt like Sam's suit was a little too bright.
Yeah,
is what it was.
No, I feel I get you on that.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas I loved the John Walker's new U.S. agent suit. I thought was really good. Turned to black, very comic accurate, but it wasn't too bright.
I wish in that scene though they wouldn't have had him right by all the bright windows because you couldn't even really tell that it was black versus blue.
Yeah,
because they had him come out with all the windows behind him and all that sunlight coming in. Like I felt like you couldn't. Maybe they did it on purpose, but I felt like you couldn't really get a really good view of the colors of the suit. Like I honestly couldn't tell that it was black until they said it.
Yeah, you just saw it was darker.
It just looked dark. Like it could have been dark blue still. Like I wish that scene. I mean, they must have done that on purpose, obviously, because maybe they wanted the character to have to say it was black, so you would know it was black. I don't know, but it definitely all the light, the sunlight coming in from behind, I felt made it where it was hard to see the costume. But.
Yeah, that's the way. So, all right, guys, that is our review of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, season 1, 6 episodes. I don't know if there's going to be a season 2. We know we're getting another Captain America movie. It's probably going to have Sam. We'll see where it goes. Honestly, I don't care because once again, Marvel has not failed us.
How long till Loki?
June. So okay, here we go. Well, let's look at this. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is upcoming Marvels. Okay, so we've gotten two things from Marvel. Remember, 2020 was a year that pushed everything back as far as the entertainment industry. Both of these shows were supposed to come out last year, along with Black Widow and Eternals and Spider-Man and everything. Everything got pushed back. So far this year, we've got WandaVision, Falcon, and Winter Soldier. Those are two series we got. We have Loki, another series coming out. What If, the animated series that's set to come out. We have Ms. Marvel and Hawkeye. Those are all more Marvel Studio Disney Plus series that are coming out. When movies, we have Black Widow, Shang-Chi, The Legend of the Ten Rings, which we got our first trailer for that. Eternals, starring your bodyguard, Richard Madden. He's going to be the star of that, so you'll probably like that. And then, of course, Spider-Man No Way Home, the third Spider-Man movie, too. So, technically, by the end of this year, we will have 10 Marvel Studio things. 6 series on top of that, too, and 4 films. I mean, it's ridiculous how much Marvel we're getting this year. So, of what's to come still, I know probably Loki's the thing you're most excited for, right?
Yes.
What would be the next thing?
Of those?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe Hawkeye?
Hawkeye, yeah. I mean, I'm interested to see how they do.
I like Hawkeye. Well, the character.
Yeah, it's interesting too. Yeah, because with Hawkeye, there's a series that they did, a comic series that was really well received about how he is such a regular guy on this team full of gods. With Thor and Iron Man and Hulk and all that, and kind of how he relates to them and how he, and they did touch on that a little bit on say Age of Ultron when when his wife's like, "Oh, I think they do need you to help keep them grounded." Along with that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any idea what the premise of that show is going to be, but I like Hawkeye. I like Jeremy Renner. I think I think that looks good.
Yeah, I think it's really good too. So, but it's just we got a lot more Marvel coming this year, so it's gonna be a fun year to say the least. So, Well, that's it, guys. Tell us what you think, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Give us your theories, your thoughts, speculation. I love to hear them. Lisa doesn't. So you can send them to me, Slim Dayspring 12 on Twitter and Instagram. Don't forget the Facebook group, Twitter account. And that's it, guys. Go out, enjoy your weekend, enjoy your lives, and until next time, may the Force be with us all.